So, yeah. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, okay. Hello, I'm Tara Brabazon. I'm the Dean of Graduate Research at Flinders University, and welcome to vlog 143. Triumph from disappointment. You didn't know I was going to call it that. This is our Christmas vlog, and I thought a great deal about the title. The Christmas vlog is always a special one. Who I bring to you for the Christmas vlog, and I search the universe and find an outstanding human being to bring to you for Christmas. And these are special vlogs because Christmas is a wonderful time of the year for a lot of people. It's also a time of a lot of tragedy, a lot of disappointment, a lot of reflection, and a lot of worry. And I'm very well aware of that in the Office of Graduate Research, that it's a very happy time for some. It's also a time of a lot of soul searching and even despair for others. So in this vlog today, I wanted to tell a wonderful and inspiring story with a wonderful and inspiring person that is a great story, but I didn't start there. So for those of you that are in a bit of a challenging space, hello, I'm thinking of you. Today could transform you and change the way you think about yourself and your thesis and maybe this time of year. And it is my great pleasure, my joy in fact, to welcome Dr. Tiffany Knight to the Christmas vlog.
Sorry.
Now, she is Dr. Tiffany Knight. She's laughing because she's actually graduated in our December ceremony, so it is very fresh.
It's very new.
And very new and very exciting, but incredibly well earned. She's also a really great friend of mine. She's a spectacular human being. I love this woman so much. Why she's so spectacular is not only she got a PhD like Dr. Tiffany Knight. I'll just keep saying that. But she received what I call the Gothic unicorn result. Now, I'm going to actually put this in policy and procedure. I invented it, but it's such an accurate thing to describe you. So the unicorn result is the double A, and it's not about bra size. The double A is straight through without corrections. 2 examiners have given you a straight through, no corrections. Never happens. But particularly doesn't happen, which is why it's a Gothic unicorn, particularly doesn't happen in the practice-led disciplines. So this is the PhD with the artifact and the exegesis, the 2 parts. This is the mode of PhD with the highest failure rate and the highest rate of differential results. So one of the examiners gives it an incredibly high mark, the other one gives it an incredibly low mark. So in this mode of PhD, Dr. Tiffany Knight gained a double A. And I've never heard of that. So that's the Gothic unicorn result. And this seems a great story of success and achievement and empowerment, a remarkable story, a success story. But it didn't start there, and that's maybe why we're here today. This woman had an incredibly successful career before she came to academic life, an award-winning actor in North America and in Australia. So this story seems positive and light and fabulous. But that's not what's inspirational. And this is a profoundly inspirational vlog, because where this wonderful person was less than 18 months ago will transform how you think about PhDs and also maybe how you'll think about your life. So for everyone out there at the moment looking straight at you, if you're in a bad space right now, if you're in a bit of a frightened space or a frightening space, then this will transform how you think today. Hi, Tiff.
Hi. Hello.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're spectacular.
Hi. I haven't said anything. I'm already crying.
No. We could cry through this one too. So this could be really messy. So for all the men on a journey out there, I apologise in advance. This one could be a bit messy. But Tiff, let's start with the easy first up question, which is, can you tell us what your thesis was about? What was your thesis on?
That's really funny because I feel like that's the hardest question in a way. Oh, geez, my thesis. Okay. Breathe. My thesis is a practice-led research investigation into the actor's status in contemporary independent theatre practices. That's kind of the title of it.
Yes.
The main part of it is just the actor. And I guess I called it that because what I was experimenting with and exploring was how the actor can create an original contribution to knowledge, which is really, I think, really hard to do.
Yes.
Because actors traditionally are the interpreters of somebody else's original knowledge, the writer's knowledge or the director's knowledge, or vision.
Yes.
And so I didn't really know how you get to make the person who interprets, who's often sort of considered the puppet in the creative process, how that person can create an original contribution. So I guess I created a research methodology based out of my creative practice that was based on a show that I was working on called 19 Weeks. And 19 Weeks, do you want me to tell about it?
Please. It's phenomenal and an award-winning show, can I say? Big hi to Emily.
Hi, Emily. So 19 Weeks is a one-person show that my friend and colleague Emily Steele wrote. It's an autobiographical piece about her experience of having an abortion when her baby was diagnosed with Down syndrome. And Emily asked me if I would be interested in creating the part of Emily Steele. So, and it's also an unusual piece because it's performed in a pool. So there was a lot of interesting, unusual things about this piece that were a way to sort of catalyze a lot of questions about the actor's role in the creation of a new work, particularly in the environment of independent theatre, which is a really unregulated space.
Yes. So you're really dealing very effectively, I think, with the actor as a worker too. I think as part of a workforce. So I'd never seen anything like this. So multiple layers and modes of innovation. Now we're going to get to a challenging space, and I'm sorry to take you there, but I think we should go back there if you can. Mm-hmm. You finished your thesis very, very quickly, well within the minimum time by a wide margin. It was astounding. But you started 16 months ago in a very, very bad place. Mm. And there are people watching this vlog today, right now, today, that are also in a very bad place. So could I take you back there? And I'm sorry to do it to you because I know for the pair of us it's quite a challenging moment, but could you tell us what got you into that bad space and tell us about it? Could I put you back there?
Yeah. So I remember watching one of your vlogs, actually, where you talked about when people want to sit down and work with you as a supervisor, that you make them write down the 10 reasons of why they want to do a PhD. And I remember watching that vlog and going, oh shit, I don't have 10 reasons. I've got 2, really. Right. And they were the wrong reasons. At the time, I was working at the university on an associate lecturer position that was a contract position in a department that really depends on practitioners to bring their expertise into the industry. And I had been told that the only way for me to move forward in academia was to have a PhD. Yes. So I thought I'll do a PhD to basically increase my job prospects. And
so like a union ticket into academic life.
That's right. Yeah. And I also, I did it because I wanted to prove to myself that I was smart.
That's a great reason.
It's not a good reason.
That's a great reason because you need. Look, it's so common with women, can I say, that you need an external confirmation to prove that you're intelligent.
Yeah.
Because blokes sort of move through life going, I'm smart, I'm really smart. People go, yeah, you're really smart. Whereas no one ever says to a woman, you're smart. So you get a degree that shows, oh, look, I am. See,
here's my degree. Yeah, and particularly for actors, I think, because a lot of actor training encourages people to be anti-intellectual. That actually says you've got to get out of your head, otherwise it stifles your creativity. But I loved learning. I think a lot of actors they love research. Yeah. So I loved research, and I wanted to learn more because I was a university dropout. I dropped out of university to become an actor, and I knew that there were holes in my thinking, but I didn't have a burning question, and that was the problem. I didn't have something I needed to interrogate through research. I was doing it to tick a box and to prove that I was smart. And it was really confronting. It was confronting to see that. It wasn't that vlog that made me go, oh no, I'm not going to do it. But it was
motivation was an issue.
It was a huge issue. Yeah, so I got lost. I got really lost. And then I met you.
Oh, you say that. The one other variable, I'll just put this out there, is, should I tell the toilet story?
Go for it.
Well, I'll start the toilet story and you can finish it. The bit of this story that do you tell the 3-minute thesis story? Tell the 3-minute. You came second in the 3-minute thesis. I mean, I put her first, to be honest with you, but I had that she'd won it. So this was a remarkable woman, and she was in our 3-minute thesis competition, did incredibly well. But you later told me the state of you before you went out and did your 3-minute thesis presentation.
Yeah. I was crying. Oh, actors are dramatic. I was crying in the bathroom before the 3-minute thesis competition because I knew I was going to quit. I knew, and I had to do the 3-minute final because I had moved through the semis and the heats, and I had an obligation to do it. But it did take all my acting chops to be able to do that 3 minutes, because I knew that I was going to walk away from the program after that point. And you know, the irony of shaking hands with the Vice Chancellor, you know, who'd said that we are the leading next generation of great researchers was profound and taxing, because I knew I was a fraud. And and then everyone was leaving, and then this woman here pointed her lightsaber at me across the room.
Should I do a bit of, that's what we brought it in, because it's a bit of a thing. I'll turn it off though, because I'm slightly, I would keep going for hours.
I know, I'll just watch it for hours.
Yeah.
But, as good as that. Tara pointed her lightsaber at me as everyone was leaving, and she said, "You were awesome. I gave you full marks." And I said, "Well, that's kind of funny, because I'm about to quit." And she said, "Come see me in my office." And changed everything.
But I'll just put in from my perspective as Dean, because I was so excited by this woman. I thought this woman was the most brilliant, the most brilliant creature I had seen since I'd returned to Australia. I went, that woman is astounding. And so in full sort of drag queen regalia, as is my wont, I had my lightsaber, which obviously I carry randomly around the house most days, and I just pointed at her going, you are phenomenal, you are. And you were like, well, I'm actually going to quit the program. And I remember my fear, I'm trying to not get upset now, but I remember my eyes sort of filled with tears, because I was sort of just done a gig myself and I was feeling really fantastic. I looked and went, this is horrendous, this is a horrible moment, and it was relatively public, and I thought, what do we do now? And so I said, well, come to the office. And then sort of I finished business in the hall, and I was heading down the hill, still with the bloody lightsaber. And you've probably forgotten this, but you were sitting on your own in the sort of seat, on this bench seat looking over the lake.
I was texting my husband going, guess what? This is hilarious.
But
I just came second. What do I do now?
But I was looking at this woman sort of, sitting on the bench with all these people, with other people around them, and I just thought, this is horrendous. So I think I then pointed again and went, I'll see you on Monday. But I went home, and I just thought, this is a horrendous moment. This is a horrendous moment in my life. What am I doing wrong? What are we doing wrong as an international graduate program that such a brilliant person would be, a cigarette packet away from quitting a program? So that's why, for all of you out there, recognise that's how close she was, a day away from walking away, and she's ended up 15 months later with a AA result. So let's now work out how you go from crying in the toilet, don't get upset, crying in a toilet to this incredible career in front of you now. And I just want to talk about the practice-led element, if I can, for a moment.
Yeah.
Do you think part of what caused that problem was this mode of doing a PhD? Do you think that was involved in the challenge and the problem that you were confronting?
I think that I still didn't have a lot of clarity about what my methodology was at the time, and I think because I didn't have a clear structure in place to know what the end game was. Because I was doing my PhD part-time, I knew that I had 4-6 years ahead of me, and so there was a lot of feeling that the answer will come and you'll figure it out as you go. But the circumstances had changed, and I didn't want to spend another 6 years doing it. I needed to get on with my life, and I didn't know what the structure was to make that move ahead. And I was reading in lots of different areas, but I just felt like I was cut a bit adrift. And so I guess what really changed things was I knew that I wanted to do practice-led research, but I didn't really know how I could do that as an actor.
Yeah.
It's different if you're writing a novel because you can control that. Or writing a play. But when you're an actor, you are to a certain extent beholden to all the other variables that make a play come into being.
Yeah.
So when you and I met and you said, well, clearly this is practice-led research, but you need to have examiners see this performance. Suddenly I went, oh, well, that's funny because we actually are doing the play again in August. And it was like, well, boom, let's do it.
Yeah.
The kicker is, though, that you had suggested that no one had ever suggested before, is that exegesis needs to be written 8 weeks in advance of them seeing the performance, because then the examiners understand that this writing frames and underpins the research that's embedded in the artifact. Rather than often is the case, I understand, when people do practice-led research in performance, they'll do the performance, the examiners will see the performance, or they see a video recording of the performance, and then the researcher goes and writes up the exegesis afterwards, and often the exegesis just sort of explains what they did or retells the story. There's no way for the examiners to really see the interconnections between the two. A lot of time has passed between the performance and getting the exegesis. So this was a strategy that I had never encountered before.
So it was stunning to me in our first meeting when you were sitting there, where I was sort of saying, right, what is your artifact? And we didn't even know what the artifact was. So I just said, well, clearly the artifact, mate, is the performance, and the exegesis, from the Greek explanation, is the framework, the theoretical framework around that performance. So, and from that first meeting, we were good to go from there, and the speed at which this woman did that work, but the boundaries around, this is what the artifact is, this is what the exegesis is, let's do this. I think that was the moment, and that was done by the end of the first meeting. That was done in 20 minutes.
It was radical. It was radical.
So if in the artifact exegesis thesis, don't let time pass without going, this is what the object is. And be really clear about its framework, and this is what the exegesis is. And once you get that, you're golden, I think. But you're going to be faffing about for years if you can't get them organised.
Yes, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah. So therefore, and this is the next question about the how. So that's what went wrong. That's the methodological transformation. So how did you reboot your thesis from the point, this might be an emotional or intellectual response, how did you reboot it from that point in the toilet where you said, I'm out? Because you've used that phrase with me, it's stayed with me, I'm out, I'm done, I'm out. So how do you get from there to reconnecting with your thesis and finishing?
It was because it was about performance, actually, because you set up you identified that what my area of expertise is performance.
Yes.
I think I was, because I didn't have an undergraduate degree, I was flailing and trying to teach myself about all sorts of different disciplines, and feeling like I couldn't ever keep up or catch up with any of those disciplines because I didn't have the underpinnings. But when you said, this is about performance, we can make it happen, that we can get examiners to see this, suddenly I went, well, that's what I've always wanted to do. And that's a thing. That's a thing, that I can be considered an expert in this thing that I do, that people would acknowledge that. Yeah. Okay, well then, chop, let's go. Let's embrace that as an idea.
So therefore motivation came back, just to do a meta on that, so therefore motivation arrived.
Yeah. And I guess, what else? How else did that reboot? It was the structure of having regular weekly meetings with you.
That mattered for you enormously,
hugely.
I thought.
Yeah, hugely. And I recognise that there are, I think because I didn't come in with a burning question, I think that's sort of tied in a little bit with being an actor in general. Actors, a lot of the work that we do is relatively passive. Someone gives you a direction or a provocation, and then you enact it. Because my motivation wasn't coming in going, I need to explore this thing, I I personally needed the support of somebody going, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? And they weren't really prescriptive ideas. Actually, when I look back at your notes, there wasn't a lot.
Well, in some ways, for all the supervisors out there, hi guys, can I say we've got a brilliant woman here. You know, and we're not dealing with a 20-year-old girl either. We're dealing with a woman with a career, with a life, with a lot of success. Can I say I supervised you very differently from anybody else I've ever supervised because I was your director. Because literally this woman came in for a provocation. Yeah. So you came in going, right, this is what I've done, right, so what do you think about this? And I went, right, have you thought about this? And I would say something incredibly, intensely provocative to you, really out there, because obviously a lot of what we're dealing with is sex and women and bodies and controversy. So I would say a provocation, have 2 or 3 names around them, brilliant woman could read them, and off you'd go, and she'd come back with 6,000 words the following week. So I was really giving you directorial notes. I've never supervised like that before, because you were able to take those notes and act on them.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
And that's what you did.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. Yeah. I mean,
but you told me how to supervise you. For good supervisors out there, the best students tell you how to supervise them. And Tiff, you taught me how to supervise you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Amazing. So I just think you were very courageous too, because you managed to emotionally heal too, because you were quite emotional. I wouldn't say damaged is too strong a word, but emotionally there wasn't a good place where you were, and you recovered very quickly.
Well, it became fun. Like, that was the extraordinary thing, is it became fun, and I didn't, and I mean, hard work fun, but it was rigorous, and it was so satisfying to be able to go, okay, this is what I have to do, but within that parameter, play. And that's exactly what the actor's process is. You have a structure, but within that structure, you allow for chaos and for experimentation. So,
and in some lovely way too, there's many disadvantages in being supervised by the dean, many disadvantages, there's a lot going on. But one of the advantages is that like the entire Office of Graduate Research end up being sort of your supervisors as well, like a family. So this group of people really cared for Tiff and saw her all the way through. So if I wasn't here, she had this incredible support structure around her. So I think that made a difference too, that was a healing process for you, and you felt safe and supported. I think, again, like an acting troupe. So we were around you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was
fascinating. Let's go to the unbelievably negative component now, which is fascinating. Let's talk about examination.
Oh.
Now, you had the hardest examination I could even think about. Beyond an oral exam, beyond a viva, the hardest examination that it's possible to do for a human being. So could you tell us what made it odd, and also what made it stressful, what made it astounding? Tell them about the examination.
Okay, well, because my thesis was about performance, so I'm researching performance, it was really important, and particularly one aspect of what I was researching is the relationship an actor has with an audience member in a direct address mode. Because in this show, I was in my bathing suit in a pool, the front row of audience members had their feet in the water, and the way the play is structured, and the stuff that I found in it, is that I'm confiding in the audience, I'm building a relationship with the audience, and they are my scene partner. What was essential is that the examiners experienced that.
Not a video of it, not a step back, not a script, the live analog moment.
Yeah. So how the actor manages those relationships on top of all the other variables that are happening. So it meant that we had to get a performance that the examiners would attend. So we had this show. We had a show in Edinburgh. It was going to be perfect because it would allow for international examiners. In Europe, where you get all sorts of exciting people who study and whatnot, at a very well-respected festival.
Yes.
And then the pool fell through. So our venue fell through.
Yeah.
And so for a while I was writing my exegesis not knowing where it was going to be examined.
Or when.
So that was really stressful. And going through and tracking changes that you will see this in Edinburgh, you will see this in Auckland, you will see this in... Eventually we changed it to Melbourne. So it did get shown in Melbourne. Yeah. However, yeah, it's very important that the examiners are of international standing.
Yes.
So making sure that we could get two examiners who didn't know each other, who I didn't know, in the same space was a nightmare.
Who were prepared to go to a gig and examine a thesis. So in Australia, because most of our universities don't have an oral exam, staff are not trained that they're actually going to have to front, analogue and be in a place and be present. So we were almost having to andragogically train examiners that, you know what, you have to front a gig and read a thesis. And to be frank, we got a lot of no's. We got 30 plus no's from Australian examiners, and just do the time imperative on it.
Oh, well, yeah, because... So the deal was that, and I think the reason that I got the thesis done so quickly was that I had to have this thesis done 8 weeks before people saw the show, so they had time to read the exegesis. And so we had to have people, and we got them eventually. How close?
Week and a half.
A week and a half.
You were, the next day you were driving to Melbourne, and the two examiners agreed. But basically, so why it's so stressful for you is those two examiners ended up going to two different performances.
Yes.
So we're now in Melbourne. So we've got two examiners. Tell me what happens now. So what's going on?
Okay, so, well, first off, the Dean of Graduate Research had to get to Melbourne, take 4 days out of your incredibly busy life, to liaise, I guess, to provide quality control.
Well, I was going to say, so it is, I'll just do, so it's, I didn't know you'd start this, so that's the quality assurance bit. So therefore, you've got a live performance on a controversial area involving abortion, right? So you've got multiple variables, you don't know what's going to occur, there could be protesters, whole box and dice. Yeah. Then the examiners are each going to a different night. So so somebody had to be there both nights to confirm that, you know, to write down what's happening with the audience, were there protesters, what was the continuity occurring between those performances for TIFF. So if there was an appeal mechanism, somebody was there from the university to assess any mischief between the two examination events. So unusually, we've got some working parts here. So I fronted as supervisor, I would have gone as dean anyway, whatever the topic throughout the university, to monitor that. So I'm in the audience both nights.
So I'm looking straight into the audience, and there's this person. So weirdly enough, like it was more. I was more nervous about you seeing the show than examiners.
I didn't know that. That's terrible too.
Well, because you're very expressive. You know.
Well, I do laugh too.
You do. You're just like. You know.
I'm a terrible person. Did I really do that? But I remember laughing because I found a lot of it terribly funny.
It's funny.
And I was the only person in some of them. I laughed twice too.
I know.
I laughed the first time. Oh, that's funny again. I'm going to laugh again.
It was fantastic.
So I'm sorry. I didn't see that. So that added stress. I didn't know that. So
no. But I mean, it was stressful. Like you were worried that I'd be stressed out having examiners in the audience.
Oh, God, yes.
But I guess the thing is, my point is, it was stressful, but it's really no more stressful than having a critic in the audience or having somebody in the audience that you know has a vested interest in this piece. I mean, because it's about real people, this show. Yeah. So we'd already gone through a long experience in previous productions about me having to front up and tell this story to people I knew were going to have big feelings about this show. Yeah. So the fact that there were examiners was comparable. Wow. It was comparable. Wow. So that part of it wasn't as hard. When I got out of the pool the second time and warmed up in the shower, I did burst into tears in the shower because it was such a relief. But it was more the fact that we just got through this huge epic thing that so many times felt like it wasn't going to pull all together. But it did.
But it did. So it did. So it was unbelievable. So that was amazing. So again, that showed to me you'd held it together incredibly well. So you see, she was doing a run, a professional run. It was 2 weeks. Yeah. So an actual run of a play, whereby 2 of those nights examiners came in. Can you imagine? So obviously I was incredibly worried about her because, I mean, you know, we're dealing again with a fantastic, talented, award-winning actor. So I knew, you know, we're dealing with a professional here. But still, there's a certain point that the human body can't manage that level of stress. And of course, you've never been to a situation where actually it's an oral exam beyond what anybody could imagine twice.
Yeah, I guess that's true. We were lucky that we were doing it in Melbourne because I was able to take care of myself during the days because I did get sick. I was fighting a cold through the whole thing because it was the middle of winter in a pool. But yeah, I mean, truly, that's the frisson of acting. I mean, that was exciting. Having people in the audience that you're like, that was okay. That part was okay.
And I know, and I could feel it. And it is the best performance I've ever seen. I'm a very old woman, and it is. I mean, there's like that, and there's everything else I've ever seen in theatre in my life. That's how profoundly amazing it was. So I was incredibly moved. In the audience, people were crying next to me. I was just like, because I'm having to write down, like, woman next door to me crying, still crying. Because you've got to sort of capture the context, like, yeah, she's still crying. So it was just really powerful. Now, you can be honest about the next question. I was going to ask you, and this is again inspirational for people for our Christmas vlog, but could you tell us how you felt when the AA results came through? And you can tell the real story too. You can tell the crazy bit rather than sort of the formal notification from the wonderful Natalie Hills. If you want to actually tell the sort of bonkers one, you can pick whichever version. I like to apologise to all my friends around the world. Yeah, tell whatever version you like of this.
All right. Well, I went to. I was speaking at a conference. And I can tell you.
You do.
I was speaking at a conference at the other campus, and I saw on the breakdown that Tara was going to be doing a keynote, and I went, "Oh, this sounds good. I'll stick around. I got nothing else to do." And it's always like it's theatre to watch Tara do a conference. So I went and turned up, and she looked at me and she went pale. And she came up to me and she went, 2 A's. You've got 2 A's. And and it just was, I did not, it was, I was speechless.
You were shaking and I was shaking.
Yeah. And then Tara had to go and do this incredible keynote about the zombie apocalypse, waving more props and leaving scars in the furniture.
Yeah, I did damage some furniture that day.
Yeah, so there was a lot of adrenaline hyped up. And it was just such a beautiful way to end things because it was such an incredible performance that you gave.
Oh, no, but it was one of those, because I'd been in a meeting all morning, so I'd been in this scary meeting, and I had to drive in, and of course I got lost, because I get lost all the time, so I got lost going to Tonsley. I wish I was, I
get lost going to Tonsley.
Well, there, so, I've got 2 minutes to go setting up the PowerPoint in, so I'm set up, so I'm going, this is a nightmare, I always give myself half an hour, this is a disaster, okay, winning, good, and I look up, I didn't even know you were going to be there. And I went, Tiff's here. And I went, Tiff. And I went, something happened at 9 o'clock this morning. And I looked at you, and I think I did that. And I went, 2 A's. Yeah. And I went and did it.
You did it. Yeah. And you said, come sit in the front. I just sat in the front row.
But I mean, that's not the way you do that, but I thought you should know. It was just...
It's crazy.
But you will remember that. The weird thing is you remember that forever, and I will as well. Because I was thinking, do I do this? And of course, I will tell you. It's just because it's so rare. It was just I'm so stunned.
I'm so stunned. I'm astonished.
But so that was the result. So that was the 2 A's. So both examiners who saw it independently, read the exegesis, went, "This is the best thing we've ever seen." The reports were astounding. The best reports anybody's ever seen. So I'd imagine further prizes will be forthcoming from that as well. But it was an amazing moment. That's how special it is. Now, let's get to the interesting bit. Let's update this story. So a lot's happened since your successful examination. So let's talk about publishing and publication strategy and how random editors are now contacting you from all over the world.
I know. Oh, I got an email yesterday. The woman from... So the the editor of Theatre Performance Studies at Routledge. Routledge? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Routledge.
They're posh.
They contacted me based on an abstract from a conference that I was attending last year and wondered if I'd be interested in turning it into a monograph. So I sent off the proposal, and they've sent it out to reviewers. They're waiting for the reviewers to get back right now. So hopefully that'll all work out.
She didn't contact them, they contacted her, Routledge.
I know. I kept thinking it was a hoax, honestly. I had to come to you and go, is this a real thing?
I went, dude.
I bite their hand off.
Yes, bite their hand off, break their legs.
Break their legs. Break their legs.
I just like to apologise. That comes from my 88-year-old mother, by the way. She was a real estate agent, came into their house and gave them a very, very high valuation on their property. Oh. And she walked into the kitchen to see my father and said, break his legs. So, unfortunately, I now use that whenever anything fantastic happens to my students, like, what do? I go, break their legs.
Break their legs.
Do it. Yes.
So, yeah, I'm in the process of trying to break their legs. And, yeah, and we're working on a piece. You, me, and the amazing Natalie Hills.
Yeah, so then what we've decided to do is put the problem into the work and write this up. So Natalie Hills, the legend that is Natalie Hills, our examination officer extraordinaire, the best examination officer in the world, who, can I say, administered all of this. That took about 9 months of work to get all of this in place, can I say. So we decided to write this up because the examination of practice-led theses is so poorly handled. It's no one's fault, just no one's actually done it properly and thought it through. We've done one properly. So the three of us, so a professional staff member, an academic staff member and a former student, a successful student, are getting together. We're pretty well, we're about halfway through, I'll have it done by the end of January, a short book, probably, I think maybe for Springer or Emerald, we'll see, looking at how you supervise, how you examine a practice-led, creative-led thesis. So this one will have 2 books by really June next year.
Hopefully, yeah. Oh, and that the symposium that I spoke at last year, they've got a special journal. So I'm going to be busy before I go and do my show.
So,
which is good.
So unbelievable. So the next one I want to talk about, where you've done this brilliantly, I think, is the plan in place for your career. We are in very difficult times for higher education and the university workforce. So you and I really for the last 6 months have talked about that portfolio career. That's a bit of a crappy model. It does suit you though at this point, I think. So the publication strategy, the consultancy strategy, the professional strategy and the academic strategy. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've got in place or your plans to have all those bits coming together while the university system heals itself in the next year or so?
Yeah. I'm so glad to have learned that term portfolio career, because I think it puts a ring around what actors are always doing, which is scrambling for work all the time. And, in a more disparaging way, people would call it a struggling actor. Actors have to have lots of strings to their bow. Artists have to have a lot of strings to their bow, and I've always believed that, and I think it's a strength of what we do to have lots of interests. So I'm kind of just going back to what I used to do before I had a contract at a university with my fellowship. I'm going back to being a freelance actor, but that's changed a little. It's changed significantly because I now have not just another string to my bow, I have a whole new tool. I have a pen. And I guess that what the PhD has done is it's given me the confidence and the experience to know that I can write about this thing that I love to do as well. So I'm teaching as a sessional at a couple of different universities, tutoring. I'm working as a coach, a voice coach and a dialect coach. I'm working more with non-actors, which is really fantastic, doing effective communication with non-actors. Which I love.
And the other variable we're talking about too, because what we're trying to do is value add to Tiff's work. So she's great on that skill development consultancy area. That's a money maker for Tiff. And what we're trying to do is use the Kindle books in particular, that as she's had to teach and work on a particular area of skill development, to create a Kindle e-book with those titles. So on voice management, what else? On body management, on posture. So actually then she's got a value add sale of ebook that will then sell the consultancy will sell the book. So that's another example as well.
Yeah, that's the plan. Yeah. So I just have to I have to start getting up earlier in the morning and compartmentalizing, because right now I'm enjoying digging in my garden and hanging out with my kids.
But you do need to do that. you do need to do that. But again, that's very powerful, and it's the value adding. It's the creative industries model that doesn't work for a lot of people, but is perfect for Tiff while the university system heals.
Yeah.
There may be a year, there may be 2 years in it, but you will be university ready once our higher education system works out what it's doing.
Yeah. Well, I've started to reframe, the notion of being research active because the act of researching is so interesting, as opposed to research active so that I can get a job at some point down the road. And I guess that's been the big takeaway for me through the whole process, is that I went into the PhD for very pragmatic reasons, and that didn't sustain me. But I was lucky to have people in my life who went, this is a privilege. This is a privilege to extend yourself in a way and think about the philosophy of what you do instead of doing this as a career boost. And so, so writing now, the notion of writing about the work, I'm approaching it from a different place.
Huge. So that's the movement from extrinsic to intrinsic motivation. And intrinsic motivation will get your thesis home.
Yeah.
Astounding.
Yeah.
Last question.
Okay.
A lot of wonderful people out there. Another audience for this vlog this week is our acting community and our creative practitioners. Hi everyone. For the guys and gals out there, what would you say to those men and women who are maybe thinking a doctorate is an option? Because they're your people. Talk to them.
Hello. I think that so much of... I think coming into a doctorate, you are told this is not a space for you to have 3 years to work on your craft, but you still think, because it is such a tough industry that we're in, that the notion of having a scholarship for 3 years is an incredible financial boon and a safe place to experiment with your art. And that's not what research is about. It's not what it is. It's about having a question that you need to interrogate through this form that you can't do in any other way. So know why you're doing the research. It's a doctor of philosophy. It's an opportunity to interrogate the meaning of what you do, not just improve in your craft or have a safe space to improve your craft. That's a different thing. It makes me really angry that we don't live in a world where artists are given the space for 3 years to go and do something. But this is an opportunity to think deeply and interrogate something that we do in an entirely different way. And it will, if you know why you're doing it, you're still going to have surprises. It's still going to take you to places that you cannot control and cannot expect. But it's transformational. It turns you into something different and richer and stronger, and find your peeps. Think outside the box. Think widely. Take every opportunity you can for professional development. Take every opportunity you can to meet people outside your silo, because we make art about the world, not just about our art. So this is an amazing space to do that.
Oh, well. Is there a better way to end our Christmas vlog for this year? Tiffany Knight, you are spectacular. You are a spectacular human being. You are a dear friend of mine. You're one of the truly great, creative, brilliant women in the world. And you've changed my life.
Oh, you've changed mine.
You better do the end.
Oh, we wish you love, light and joy. Tea out.
Bye. Happy Christmas.
Thank you. You have no idea what this means to me. Thank you.
We did it.
We did it. Sweet.